The film begins with a stunning display of deep trust when Jack deliberately offers his bare arm to the powerful wolf dog, White Fang, urging him to take the meat. Jack's companion, terrified, immediately grabs his rifle and shouts a warning. The startled wolf dog releases Jack's arm, but Jack remains calm, gesturing to his friend to stand down. His companion is bewildered, certain Jack is in shock, until Jack offers his arm once more, revealing that White Fang had only held him gently, his fangs never piercing the skin. The companion is left speechless, his fear replaced by profound wonder at the animal's control. But before we get to the storyline, I want to remind you guys first. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Okay, let's keep going with this story. Spoilers ahead. Stay safe and enjoy. This trust is the culmination of White Fang's troubled life. Years earlier, he was a small, carefree pup living with his loving mother. Their life was destroyed when the mother wolf was shot by a hunter. Using her last reserves of strength, she crawled back to the den, only to collapse and die while confirming her pup was safe. The young wolf, confused by her stillness, gently licked her fur, thinking she was merely asleep from exhaustion. He waited, curled against her, until the bitter snowstorm froze his mother solid. Finally realizing she was gone forever, his desperate, mournful howls echoed his utter isolation in the unforgiving Arctic. Alone and unable to survive, the starving pup struggled. He chased a distant wolf pack, but quickly became exhausted and watched them disappear. He found a stream full of fish, but lacked the instinct to hunt, resorting instead to gnawing on tree bark. Finally, desperation led him to a rabbit caught in a snare. Blindly lunging for food, he missed the ground trap, and the snare snapped shut, leaving him dangling helplessly next to his prey. When humans arrived, he was paralyzed by terror. The leader of the local indigenous people, Gray Beaver, examining the struggling pup, recognized the animal's distinctive white canines and the valuable wolf-dog hybrid bloodline. He named the pup White Fang and brought him into the camp. Thus began White Fang's life of servitude and loneliness, an outcast among the other dogs, yet bound to a shelter he reluctantly called home. As White Fang matured into a powerful, formidable sled dog, the gold prospector, Jack Conroy, arrived. Jack was instantly captivated by the majestic animal and, seizing an opportunity, risked approaching to pet him. However, Gray Beaver saw White Fang as a tool, a mere resource. White Fang's life was solitary. He endured constant hostility from the other dogs, and at night, he would howl alone by the river to express his profound loneliness, having no true family or connection, only unending obedience. One day, while Jack explored the woods, White Fang was secretly following. Suddenly, a colossal grizzly bear erupted from the brush. Jack ran for his life, diving into a cluster of fallen logs for cover. The furious bear tore at the wood with its claws, closing in on Jack. Just as Jack felt despair, White Fang intervened. The magnificent wolf dog placed himself as a defiant shield between Jack and the bear. White Fang stood his ground, his fangs bared and his eyes gleaming with a challenge that ultimately unnerved the massive beast, which eventually backed down and retreated. White Fang watched Jack ensure his safety, then silently slipped away. Grateful, Jack sought out White Fang to offer thanks, presenting him with a piece of precious dried meat, but the proud animal refused. Later, as Jack and his companion prepared to leave by boat, White Fang watched them from a remote hilltop. In Jack's gaze, he saw a warmth that echoed the memory of his mother, a feeling of genuine care he had never before received from a human. Back at the camp, White Fang resumed his harsh existence. While hauling furs, a group of local ruffians, led by the cruel Beauty Smith, plotted to steal the powerfully built animal. They tested White Fang's fighting ability by setting an aggressive dog on him. White Fang easily disabled the challenger, confirming their belief in his fighting potential. As they attempted to seize him, Gray Beaver was forced to concede, realizing he had no power against the blackmail and colonial authority. To protect his tribe, he was forced to hand White Fang over to the brutal men. Under Beauty Smith's vicious command, White Fang was thrown into the pit of dogfighting. He fought passively until an opponent sought to kill him. Only then would he unleash his lethal speed to win, yet each fight further corroded his spirit. He endured constant beatings and starvation, the abuse slowly morphing him into a savage fighter. His biggest challenge came against a relentless bulldog. White Fang fought hard, but was eventually overcome, the bulldog locking its jaws around his neck, leaving him near death. Instead of mercy, his owner beat him mercilessly for causing him to lose a bet. Suddenly, Jack and his brother rushed into the arena, having heard where White Fang was. Jack knocked out Smith and used a metal rod to pry open the bulldog's jaws. Cradling the gravely injured White Fang, they made a quick escape. Jack brought White Fang back to his cabin, tending to his deep wounds, his gaze filled with sorrow and determination to save the animal. Though White Fang survived, a deep, frightened despair remained in his eyes. Jack's brother urged him to give up, saying White Fang was too far gone, but Jack insisted he could heal the wolf dog's soul. Jack began patiently working with White Fang. He cautiously picked up a wooden club as a precaution, which instantly triggered White Fang's traumatic fear. Abandoning the club, Jack slowly extended his hand, and this act of patience and sincerity finally melted the animal's distrust. White Fang allowed Jack to pet him, marking the moment his heart began to open. Their bond grew rapidly. White Fang now helped Jack pan for gold, increasing their speed exponentially. While they were working in the mine, an earthquake and cave-in trapped Jack. As his brother frantically dug, White Fang went into a desperate frenzy, clawing at the debris in a blur until he pinpointed Jack's location. With White Fang's help, Jack was saved. Upon inspecting White Fang's paws, Jack noticed shimmering gold dust. The wolf dog had led them to a massive vein. There was enough gold to ensure a wealthy retirement. Jack and his brother took the ore to town to confirm its purity, a staggering 99%. Unaware, they were being watched by the vengeful Beauty Smith, who was plotting to steal their fortune. The next day, Smith and his gang launched a brutal attack, throwing a firebrand onto the cabin. As Jack and his brother fought the fire, Smith kicked in the door, only to be met by White Fang's furious, protective charge. In the ensuing chaos, one of Smith's men accidentally shot another. Smith then raised his rifle at White Fang, but the wolf dog's intense, protective rage and charge were so overwhelming that Smith was instantly terrified into surrender. Jack and his brother took the entire gang prisoner, forcing them to haul the heavy gold ore into town. The sudden fortune meant a new life, a life of comfort in the city, but Jack knew the city was no place for White Fang. Sensing the impending separation, White Fang rested his head on Jack's knee, his eyes full of fear and sorrow. After a sleepless night, Jack led White Fang deep into the woods for a painful farewell. He waved his hand, urging White Fang to be free. When White Fang followed, Jack grew desperate and, in a final, agonizing gesture, picked up the hated club and motioned to drive him away. The traumatic memory forced White Fang to flee, running into the wilderness as a shadow of sorrow. Jack instantly threw the club away and ran in the opposite direction, overwhelmed by grief. At the dock, just moments before boarding the ship to Los Angeles, Jack stopped his companion. He couldn't leave. His brother understood perfectly, offering a quiet, knowing nod. Jack gave up the city life and returned to his burnt-out cabin, spending days repairing the damage. He didn't know if White Fang would ever return, but he had followed his heart. Then, one day, as if an unspoken promise had been kept, Jack turned to see the magnificent silhouette he had thought was lost forever. White Fang had returned. The man and the wolf dog were finally reunited, their unbreakable bond sealed against the untamed world. Thank you for watching this story until the end. I hope you liked it. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thank you for watching. Miss Roth says goodbye.